Hi, guys. Welcome to tonight's live chat. It's a Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, my time. Good to see you talking in the chat box. And I'm sure as long as YouTube does what it's supposed to do, you guys will get your notification. I made some mistakes. Yesterday, I posted the wrong video too soon. So that's coming in the next few days. It's about schizoid personality disorder. So we're going to talk about that. It's a viewer requested video. And then tonight, I was supposed to be talking live about another topic and decided to come to this topic. So hopefully you guys are going to get your notifications soon enough, and then you can join us. And it looks like everything's working fine. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in as you guys sign on and trickle over from wherever you are on YouTube. So the holidays are right before us, right? Tomorrow is Wednesday. It is Thanksgiving Eve. And I'm sure a lot of you are feeling not only anxious, but also feeling maybe a little bit out of touch or out of tune with the spirit of the holiday. And I welcome you to let me know in the chat box how you're feeling about Thanksgiving coming up. For me and for my family, Thanksgiving is really that threshold before we go through all those weeks of Christmas and then hit New Year's. So it's a little bit tiring, and over time, my mom raising us, holiday time was altered in various ways so that we wouldn't feel overwhelmed. We wouldn't feel like we needed to become a part of any big commercialism, So you may have to, and we're going to talk about this tonight as well, you may have to redefine and restructure your holiday time, especially if you are having all of these feelings of, oh God, I have to see my family. Oh God, I have to deal with my mom, my father. I have to deal with trying to figure out if I'm going to send a gift or send a card or not send anything. I also have to make sure that I am sane during this time and able to experience the joys of the holiday, or at least make it my own, So I'm sure a lot of you are kind of in that boat. So in tonight's live chat, I'm going to talk about the psychology of feeling lost in a very complicated, unhealthy, and dysfunctional family dynamic, and what that looks like. Some of the research is interesting on how to manage your thoughts and your feelings and your behaviors in a time where everybody is so commercialized and so focused on family time and holidays and spending time together. I think it's beautiful if you have a healthy family, but what's not beautiful is having a dysfunctional dynamic where you feel overwhelmed, you feel unloved, you feel rejected, you feel mistreated, you've been mistreated, you've been minimized, you've been humiliated, invalidated. I can just go down a whole list of things, right? Family is not beautiful when they hurt you, when they put you in a position of just feeling like your whole dynamic is dysfunctional. How are you to manage your thoughts and your feelings around a time of year that says everything is family, right? So this live chat is going to pick and pull or tease apart those dynamics because it's a very real dynamic. Even in research on existentialism or psychology, it highlights that this is a very difficult time for people. We would love to see it as, that beautiful time of the year where everybody is singing and happy and holding hands. But our research tells us something very different as researchers of the mind, and it's quite interesting. We have all the research. It's the question of, why isn't this being talked about? Why isn't this being normalized? We have the research that shows us that this time of year is the most difficult time of year for most people, and yet we rarely talk about it. So, right, it's really difficult. Now, let me also say, before I start dropping some new terms and going to the chat box to welcome you guys and engage you, let me just say the holiday time is really that time of year, and tell me how you feel. It's really that time of year for us to examine everything, right? For me, I start examining, okay, what have I done this year so far? What do I want to do with the next few weeks that I have before it's the next year? Who do I have in my life I really don't need? Where do I need to transition my thinking and my feeling? And which way do I go with this? It even this time of year even causes you to re-examine your family relationships, right? Who are you? Are we getting along or are we not? Am I going to go over your house or not? Or am I going to invite you over to mine or not? It's an examination period. So research in psychology calls most of those questions existential anxiety. Now, existential anxiety is really anxiety about our existence, right? What am I doing? What am I in? What am I experiencing? Who am I connected with? Do I need to escape? What's happening here? What's my limitations? Remember that window of tolerance I talked about a couple days ago? What's my window of tolerance here? Do I have meaningfulness in my life? And if so, what is that? And how do I get rid of the things that are not meaningful? So psychology highlights existential anxiety as being that one thing that hits us around this time of year. And it really is teasing apart what's going on in my existence here, and even in my existence within my relationships, my family. Who am I in this dynamic? If I have a client come to me and they're dealing with existential anxiety, the first thing I ask them to do is write down all the people that they feel truly loves them. And it's only been maybe 2 times that somebody has only put my parents, you know and so we talked, my 2 clients and we talked about existential anxiety, that the deep gnawing feeling of, what's my existence here? Who am I comfortable around? Who do I need? Who do I not need? What's going on in my life, my existence? And how do I push out those things that have no value to me? And holiday time seems to be the time of year when that starts to happen. The other thing is existential rage. Can you imagine what that is? Existential rage. This is another thing psychology highlights as something that happens around this time of year. The Scrooges, right? The Grinch kind of disposition. Sometimes existential rage happens around this time of year because of an emotional response to meaninglessness. It's this, again, gnawing emotional sensation on the inside that says that I am in an emotional state of despair. I don't see what all of this has to do with much of anything. You may also feel like I don't see how this particular time of the year is going to help me feel any better, because just the sound of the holiday season makes me feel depressed. I had one client a couple of years ago who dealt with this, and every single Halloween, literally Halloween, was the start of her seasonal affective disorder. Halloween was that period of time where she knew in the next few weeks, or some radio stations, get this, guys, some radio stations start their Christmas music on November 1st. So she knew that right at Halloween, she would have to somehow deal with this unbearable emotional reality of the holiday time. And I never understood it because I've always been a lover of the holidays. It took me some time to grow, so looking back on her case, it was shocking how she was dealing with existential rage. She felt this deep-seated feeling of despair. Why? Because she was grown up, she was developed in a family where there was psychological abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, triangulation. Her mom was a narcissist, dad was a manipulator, and every holiday season was a depressing one. So every Halloween, she would come into my office and she would cry and just really struggle with the reality that holiday time was on its way. It was really eye-opening for me, guys, because again, as someone who grew up with nothing but sweet holidays. I couldn't understand that. It took me a long time to grow as a woman, as a therapist, as a human, to understand where she was coming from. But now that I look back on her case, I'm thinking, yeah, I can see exactly why this would cause existential rage. The other thing that I want you guys to keep in mind as we talk about toxic family dynamics and holiday time tonight is existential guilt. And this may be something that you've experienced, maybe not somebody in your life. Existential guilt is kind of like this inherent human experience, but it's not always balanced. So existential guilt may sound like this in your mind. What did I do to deserve a family like this? What did I do that, you know, what did I do that God felt that this was the kind of family that I should be in? That's another way to put that. I was trying to figure out how to work my words. But you may also feel existential guilt if you've decided to completely slam the door and go no contact. You may sit alone and say, was that the right decision I made? Was I being a little moody? Was I being irrational? Should I just send a Christmas gift? Right? And you may say no, and you may find justifications for no. And then you may go back and say, yeah, but it's only one time a year. And then you may go slide back and say, you know what, I'm not going to do it. Right? It's like back and forth, back and forth. And that can cause an existential guilt. It's not always balanced guilt, because you may be very justified in the position that you have taken, right, this holiday season, or relationally, period. But existential guilt kind of creeps in there, and you may start thinking, well, what if that person dies? And I haven't talked to them. What if that person has a heart attack and I never get to say goodbye, right? So those are examples of existential guilt. The other thing, before I go to the chat box, the other thing with existentialism is avoidance. So we call it existential avoidance, and it's avoiding those things that you would rather completely ignore. Existential avoidance, ignoring or avoiding those things that you would rather completely ignore or very much minimize. I'll put it that way. Existential avoidance also hits a lot of people during this time of the year, because who wants to acknowledge that they're coming directly from unhealthy, dysfunctional family dynamics where there is a lot of ugliness, pathological lying, narcissism, sociopathy, right? There's a cold, callous individual at the core. You may be dealing with somebody who is two-faced. You may be dealing with a family dynamic where nobody really openly communicates. Maybe you're the black sheep or the scapegoat. Maybe you're the one who gets minimized the most. Maybe you have to show up and be a part of a dinner where your very successful brother is contrasted to you and you are struggling, but he is, doing really well in his life. Now you've got to be in his shadow the whole holiday, right? So your family dynamics may be so dysfunctional and so unhealthy that holiday time creates this existential avoidance. I don't want to acknowledge those things that I have no control over, that I can't really influence or impact. I don't want to think about what if that person dies and I haven't said hello, or what if that person dies and I haven't, gone to a holiday dinner. So these are things, guys, that you want to keep in mind. And I'm sure you guys are saying some things in the chat box here. I see you chatting away. These are things that we all go through, even me as a therapist. I no longer go through existential guilt. I no longer go through existential anxiety. I no longer, go through existential avoidance. I've grown and I've learned, and I understand. And so now that I understand, it's been 10 years or more where I don't experience these, but you can experience them depending on what's happening in your life, All right, guys, let me go to the chat box. I want to give you some toxic family dynamics when we come back to the content here. Give you some toxic family dynamics that research suggests kind of makes you feel lost. Right? You're in this family, whether it's a big, huge family or a medium size or small family, you can feel lost, right? You can feel really lost. It's the question for most people who feel lost is, how do I engage with my family And how do I feel liberated and independent and strong during a time when we're supposed to come together? But I absolutely hate the dynamics of my family. I absolutely can't tolerate Uncle BB over there, because all he does is minimize and invalidate, and everything is a joke. You know, how do I get along with my father, who is this cold-hearted, callous, dark empath who is only concerned about pursuits and accumulation of material? How do I get this emotional communication with this kind of a father? How do I deal with a mother who's remained in the marriage, has always experienced domestic violence in this relationship, and is going through denialism? You know, how do I communicate with that? So we're going to talk just briefly about the family dynamics that research suggests is likely to not only make you feel lost in your family dynamic, but to also make you feel kind of helpless, right? You kind of develop this learned helplessness in these dynamics. I'm also going to give you some information on research, phenomenological research. Phenomenology is the word, but research on phenomenology suggests that, you know, around this time of year, or any time of the year where you have to come back together, you feel pressured to with your family to come back together, there's always this question of, what is it like to be in this family? What is it like to be human? You know, what is it like to experience this? I'm going to explain that as we go along. Okay. I don't want to say too much. I'm going to give it away. I'm also going to give you guys, lastly, at the end of this live chat, some information on some of the truths, existential and psychological truths. I'm having a hard time talking tonight, that you can embrace as you go through this week and this holiday season. Okay, guys, let me go to the chat box. I see Juby Joe. Juby Joe, I saw this comment at the very beginning. Thank you so much for that, and much love to you as well. I hope that you get some time to just rest and reflect, you know? So thank you so much for that. Yeah, I believe it. Juby Joe says, I must admit that sometimes the information you share does take me back to the past. Yes, I totally understand that. I feel like at the beginning of every live chat, I should put a disclaimer. So I may consider that. We'll see. I'm going to try something, because I don't want to, of course, cause anyone to have to feel depressed. You know what I mean? That's not the goal, you know? Keisha, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. I'm glad to see you. Keisha says, I would love to hear about narcissistic mothers who are jealous of their daughters. It's more common than you think. I mean, I don't know if there's any research to support it's more common than we think. What is true, though, is jealousy and envy in a family dynamic is more common than we think. I don't know if there's any specific research on mothers and daughters, but Keisha, I would definitely do some research and see. Thank you for mentioning that. Cherries Jubilee, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. Always glad to see you. Hope you're doing okay. Fairy Girl with the dabs, love to see you. Welcome to tonight's live chat. Black girls getting their shift together. Hello and welcome. Glad to see you. Glad to see Sun and Sunflowers. Hello and welcome. What are you guys doing this week? Do you have any plans? Let me know in the chat box. Do you have any plans for this week? Because what I find to be most useful is really having a plan as to what you're going to do. I literally went to the bookstore yesterday, and I always have a small dinner with my family, my mom, my siblings, you know, and so I love those dinners because they're so much. I don't know if I can say these two words together. They're less stressful. I'll put it that way. Less stressful than the big dinners that my family used to have. Oh my God. I'm going to say maybe I was 12, 13, 14, somewhere around in there. We used to have all the trimmings of Thanksgiving, and family would come over, my brother, his wife and children, and, you know, my grandmother, and everybody would come over, the neighbors sometimes. And at a certain point in time, and I think this was when I hit the age of 25, I was like, okay, I can't, I'm done. So, you know, maybe reading a book is what you're going to do this holiday season. Spend it with your small family, watch something, you know. You may have to alter and readjust your holidays too, so you're not feeling so lost, emotionally and psychologically. Mr. Frederick, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. He says, I'm not going around them people at all. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Do I want you to feel that way? Absolutely not. I wish you could say, you know what? I love my family. I want to be a part of my family. But if that's not the truth, be honest, right? So yeah, I don't blame you at all. Ellie Wen, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. I'm glad to see you as well. Keisha says, my mom drains the life out of holidays. I know people like that. Oh my God. I don't even like spending holidays with her. I feel bad for saying that, but it's true. There's always something we end up arguing about. Yeah. And, I hate to say this, it could be in some respects, existential rage. It could be, like this Mr. Grinch kind of disposition. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. The Mr. Grinch kind of mentality, or the Mr. Grinch kind of disposition can really make spending the holidays with these people difficult, right? Yeah. I totally get you. Laura Fitz, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Always glad to see you. Okay. Thank you, Fairy Girl. I love that. Yeah, I hope so. That's what I hope every live chat. God is love. Hello and welcome. Glad to see you. Always glad to see you. Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together says, the holidays are now a relief because I'm not around family. Yep. Not around family I feel obligated to be with. I'm with people who respect me. Yes. Somebody just said to me the other day, Tamara, it might have been one of my coworkers, Tamara, do you feel that friends can take the place of holidays and of holiday family time? And I said, I do for some people. There's now this thing called Friendsgiving, right? Where you bring in those people who make you feel the most charged about life and motivated and happy to be with them. And I think that's just fine. You have to do what's healthy. And if that means a Friendsgiving, do a Friendsgiving. Orlando, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. I'm glad to see you. Shortstop, hello and welcome. I don't remember seeing you on the channel before, so welcome. Glad to have you. Shortstop says hello and greetings from Tennessee. I miss your live stream of Going No Contact. Thanks for covering a much needed topic. I just recently went no contact for my health and peace of mind. Yes, you're welcome. There's a reason why I do a lot of live chats, because I recognize the demand, right? And we don't have enough therapists who are trained in these areas or working enough with kids and teens to fully understand this dynamic, right? So glad that you found that live chat helpful. Dragon Man, I'm looking at something you said, Fairy Girl. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, Dragon Man Sasson. Hope you're doing well tonight. Orlando, I don't know if I welcomed you, but hello and welcome from Alabama. Sun and Sunflower says, I used to have feelings of loving family, but it left me feeling more anxious with the drama. Now I love my peace. Absolutely. I don't blame you. Drama can come in the form of triangulation. It can come in let me explain triangulation before I move on to the next thing. There's a victim, there's a perpetrator, somebody who is believed to be causing the problem. And then there's a rescuer, somebody who kind of swoops in and rescues the victim. So triangulation can happen. The drama can start there. Manipulation, the drama can start there. Double bind communication, the manipulation can start there. Double bind communication is really when an emotional person kind of goes back and forth, and it kind of keeps you stuck. You don't know which way to appease that person. An example, I think I gave one last live chat, but an example could be something like, can we meet for dinner and talk about the family because I'm tired of dad bullying everyone? Sure. You guys go to dinner. You get ready to bring up dad. Other person says, you know what? I really don't want to talk about dad tonight. How about we just eat? And you may say, oh, okay. Can we talk about him tomorrow? Right? your family member or sister, whoever is there, may say, let's talk about dad tomorrow, right? Double bind communication comes in when that other individual says, I feel like you are not doing things in my best interest. You keep doing something that is not to my expectation, right? So I don't want to talk about dad, but we'll talk about dad when I want to talk about dad. Because if you tell me that we're going to talk about dad next week, I'm going to tell you that you're avoiding me. And so really you're going around and around and around in circles. I'm trying to think of what it's called. It's kind of like circular arguing. I use that same argument and we just go around and around, same argument, different way I'm wording things, but it's the same circular argument. I hope that made sense. So double bind communication can also be a form of drama, right? Because you can never get to a conclusion, or you can never get onto a stable or equal foundation, because that other person is constantly controlling the dynamic. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, that's the drama. And I don't blame you, Sun and Sunflowers, for feeling like you need to escape. Lorfit says, what's the point of going when there's no true connection? I agree. I prefer not to go. I get tired of seeing over drinking and overeating being called a celebration. Well, that's a really good, interesting dynamic. I agree with you. I agree. Yeah, very much agree. And sometimes you can see cliques even in there, right, Lord Fit? Like you can look at a family dynamic like that, and you can see that Uncle BB is very close to Uncle Jim. And then Aunt Susu is very close to Aunt Debbie, right? And then that cousin is really close to that group of cousins. And here I am standing over here alone, right? That can be a dynamic as well. I have a client who's going through that right now. SH, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. I'm glad to see you. Says, I think if you are alone by choice or otherwise, you can start your own traditions, whether spending it alone with a favorite meal or movie or serving others. Very much agree. Very much agree. My late grandma, before she passed away, she started redefining her holidays. I don't know what pushed her to do that, but she decided to redefine them. And the way she redefined them was, I'm not going to go over everybody's house during the holiday and sit with everyone and drain myself and then go home. She didn't want to do that anymore. So she started volunteering. She started going to church. She started seeing a select few people. She started spending the holidays with my brother, his wife, and his family. Then she, switched it and started spending it with my mom and my siblings. So she really redefined her holiday. Even what she was eating, she would kind of take a little bit of each traditional food, but her plate would be really small, right? She wasn't going to overeat. She wasn't going to spend it in a way that was going to tire her out and drain her, and really take the life out of her. The next day, you should feel energized, right? Not ran over by a bus. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm just going through. Jeremy Robinson, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. I'm glad to see you. Glad to see you all on a Tuesday. I thought maybe that would kind of throw you guys off. Yeah. Shortstop says, this Thanksgiving of going no contact, and I feel fine. I don't have my family's drama, burden, and intentionally using negative words to trigger or manipulate me. Yes. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful. Whoa. Sorry, guys. Hitting all the wrong buttons. Orlando says, just say no. I don't blame you. That's a good one. I like that. Okay, let's go back to the content, and then I will go back to the chat in just a little bit. What does psychology says are common toxic family dynamics that often leads to you not only wanting to go no contact, but feeling kind of lost in your family dynamic? The first thing is a preoccupation with pursuits or accumulation of material. You have somebody that's in your family who's really narcissistic. The only thing that they want to do is talk about their accomplishments, talk about the new deals they got, talk about the new job they have, talk about the new big home they bought, talk about the money they're making, right? Talk about their kids going to school, what schools they're going to, all of their good grades. I used to go to holiday gatherings where I would literally just sit in the midst of family and friends, and I would hear all kind of conversations going back and forth all around me. And at a certain point, I remember thinking, this is not a holiday. This is a competition. It's a desire to have voids filled. It is a competition, a race, you know, a quote unquote catch up session that both individuals can talk about so they can both feel important and achieved. I thought it was a really ugly dynamic wherever I would be, you know? Thankfully, that never happened within my family. I could definitely see it in my extended family over the years, as an adolescent. But I just remember going to these different events and hearing conversations, and I remember thinking, this is not healthy. You know, the conversation is about, let's catch up and how well are you doing in your life versus me, you know? So psychology says there's often a preoccupation in some of these toxic family dynamics with accumulation, success, and pursuits of, you know, goals. The other thing is denialism and minimization. You know, I'm going to deny all the family challenges. I'm going to deny that I haven't called you all throughout the year, but I want you to come over my house for Thanksgiving. You know, minimization. Oh, it wasn't that bad. Your mom was a little off kiltered, but she certainly isn't a narcissist, right? Minimization. And you may get that a lot talking to extended family, you know. The other thing is kind of like this culture of negative self-appraisals. You know, sometimes, and you guys probably know this as well, but I'm going to try to validate you here, that sometimes you can go into a family dynamic, you think everything might be okay until you start recognizing, not only within yourself, but other family members, where they're showing how inadequate they feel that they are, right? They're showing how behind they feel that they are. They're not saying things that are confident and self-assured. They're seeming very sheepish or socially anxious, not very strong in their identity. You may notice this, you know? And so we call those negative self-appraisals. I'm looking at myself as not being successful. I'm looking at myself as not being very intelligent. I'm looking at myself as not as well put together as my sister Jen over there. You know, Jen is doing very well in her life, but here I am, not married, I don't have children, and I live in Alabama, you know, far away from my family. Negative self-appraisals. And you may experience that in your own mind, you know, as you sit amongst family. That's really not okay. Shutting down, shutting down the right for you to feel validated, to feel your emotions, to be upset, to put space between you and another family member. Have you come across any family members during the holiday season who absolutely mistreat you because you don't want to be involved with half the family throughout the year? You know, maybe you have decided to go no contact, and that's your prerogative. But another family member may use that holiday time gathering to really try to guilt trip you, really try to make you feel like you made the wrong decision, really make you feel like you are ousted from the family, right? So there may be a lot of invalidation. Invalidation during the holidays from different family members. You may also notice hidden or blatant jealousy and envy in certain family members, and it may come closer to your realization or to your reality more than you thought, just being a part of a holiday gathering where you have to talk, you're faced with each other, but under the surface, you know that person is envious and jealous of you. Also, psychology points to personality pathology as making the holiday time and holiday gatherings really difficult. That narcissistic mother over there who really wants you to get it together so she can look important, right? That sociopath father who's cold and callous and uses profanity every 2 seconds and seems like he is constantly angry with someone or the world, right? That schizoid brother over there who would rather be alone, doesn't like to engage socially, doesn't have a natural desire to connect with or talk to anyone, tends to be of a lower socioeconomic status, seems like he is very isolated and withdrawn from life and everyone. would rather spend his time down in a dark basement with the door shut than to be up here talking with family or getting to know me. We're going to talk more about schizoid personality in a couple days. I have a video for you guys to watch on that. You may also see the borderline or the obsessive compulsive personality at your gatherings or family gatherings as well. It can make life really difficult. Someone with obsessive compulsive personality disorder, they may be very rule oriented and they may completely flip, as soon as something goes wrong. Right? Schedule was off time. Too many people came when they weren't supposed to. Nobody kept up with the schedule of the dinner. And that just can cause a big explosion. So that's obsessive compulsive personality. That's an example of one form of it. And then, of course, like I said, borderline. Borderline personality can also be difficult during the holidays. Lots of high emotionality, impulsivity, frustration, a fear of abandonment, being kind of clingy with everyone, and just having these roller coaster ups and downs is what categorizes the borderline personality. So this is what psychology says. And I have also seen these patterns tends to cause people to say, you know what, I'm not going to do this for this holiday. I'm going to go no contact. I'm going to escape because I can't do this, Now, what does research say? Research says that there are a lot of existential questioning that goes on when we have to be forced to be around family members or people that we'd rather not be around. Questions that are common tends to be, am I supposed to be here? Does my family truly love me? What am I getting out of this? What if I walked away? How would that affect me and everybody else? If I walk away, could I have a better mindset about the holidays, about my own life, about relationships? Am I missing something on the other side of them, right? Can I just push them out of my life and go have a happier life over there? What's the meaning and purpose that I have in my life now that I've limited contact, right? What's my ultimate goal and how do I stay on the right path? Those are all existential questions that research in existentialism has highlighted. Around this time of year, we really do start being more introspective and really trying to figure out who are we and who are we, in our own worlds, aside from all those people in our family that give us a quote unquote identity. Who am I outside of them? And can I be okay spending this time of year by myself with my defenses where I need them to be so that I'm protected, Mental defeat. This is one last thing with research. Mental defeat is literally MD. And I posted some articles in the description box so you can learn more about mental defeat. But mental defeat is really this mindset of I'm defeated. I can't get up. I've been destroyed. I've been hurt. I've been harmed. Life has really kicked me. My family members have really kicked me. And now I'm in this state of mental defeat. It's like a form of learned helplessness. Research suggests that if you have a period of time in your life where you're experiencing mental defeat, it can actually trigger symptoms of PTSD, symptoms of depression and anxiety, a high level of stress. It can even start taking a toll on your physiological stress, high cholesterol, panic attacks, nausea, gastrointestinal issues, right? Weight gain. Mental defeat is really this mindset of I feel defeated in my world, and here's why. And for a lot of people around holiday time, mental defeat is associated with a very toxic, dysfunctional family dynamic. And can you imagine that? Having health consequences because you are around people that you shouldn't be around, or around people who are bad for your health? Mental defeat. Psychology suggests that research in psychology suggests that if you have this constant state of mental defeat, you could be exacerbating problems that you already have psychologically, emotionally, or physiologically. Okay, guys, I'm going to go to the chat box, get a little bit of a break, and then I'm going to give you some ideas on how to embrace the truths that you need to embrace so that you're not feeling stuck, so that you're not feeling trapped any longer. So we're going to get into that. Okay. Girl Mom, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. I'm always glad to see you as well. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. I struggle with, and you guys let me know how you feel about this, but I struggle with saying Happy Thanksgiving. Why? Because I like the American idea of Thanksgiving, right? And I also like the fact that it focuses on gratitude and being thankful and really embracing those things that you have and saying, thank you, God, or thank you for this wonderful bed that I get to get in and I can be warm, clothing that I get a chance to wear that keeps me clean and warm, access to food and water that a lot of other people don't have, a job that I can go to, even though I hate it, a job that I can go to. I don't know, you may like your job, I don't know, but thank you for the job that I get to go to so I can pay my bills and drive the thing that I drive, and so that I can do some fun things with my money. So just being thankful and grateful, right? On the flip side of that, though, is cultural. And the Native American culture really has a hard time with Thanksgiving. So I struggle with that, having both roots, it's rough. Okay. Yeah. Trace Jubilee, I'm going to put your comment. I'm sorry that you've had to experience that. I'm just going to put your comment up here so people can see it. All right. Looking for comments. Bear with me, guys. I'm sorry. Hitting the wrong button. Keisha says, makes me angry, plays the victim, and then guilt trips. Yep. Some people do that. They push your buttons, guilt trip you, make you feel trapped, stuck. Sometimes they engage in circular arguments or arguing or reasoning, right? Where you're just going to keep going around and around with that person because this is how they are. This is part of their character. They keep you confused. They keep you frustrated. You don't ever know what's good, what's not. Are we good? Are we not? Are we, you're constantly in a state of confusion in families that are toxic and dysfunctional, I often tell my clients that if your family dynamic doesn't work all those many times throughout the year, why do you think a holiday is going to make any difference? And sometimes my clients are like, that's true. Yeah. Sister Flo, hello and welcome. I don't remember seeing you, so welcome to the channel. Glad to have you. Sister Flo says, that's what I just did, period. It hurts, but not as bad as if I stayed. Yes, absolutely. Yep. Sometimes you do have to weigh the pros and the cons, right? Is it worth me losing my sanity, my confidence, my stability, my independence, my clarity of mind, just to be with them for a holiday? Or does it make better sense to stay in my safe place where I don't have to put my defenses so high? And sometimes my clients are like, I don't know which one is which. And I'll say, think about it. Take a week, a month, think about it. Then come back and let me know what you think. And a lot of times they lean towards it's better if I just don't go around them, Thanks so much. A seat at the King's Table with Tanisha. It's good to see you guys on a Tuesday as well. I'm like, before I came on tonight, I'm like, they're going to be so confused. But here's the thing. There's two reasons why I'm doing a live chat tonight. One, I'm on vacation, so I'm not seeing clients. And I wanted to give you guys something to kind of chew on before Thanksgiving. I feel like that can be helpful. Excuse me, for a lot of you who may be struggling, right? So that's one reason. The other reason is I have literally been ordered from my PCP and neurologist to take a break. So, you're not going to see me but tonight live because I need to take the rest of the next few days and rest. My chronic migraines, my post-concussion syndrome, and my cardiac spasms depends on it. So there's some self-disclosure. Courtney Fraser, hello and welcome. I was glad to see you as well. I hope you're doing okay. GB Joe says, I just understood at an early age my family had issues and they are hurting humans. We can't fix them or get them to love us. Absolutely. You cannot. Once you recognize that I cannot get you to be who I need you to be, then that's where you really should start evaluating. Is this healthy? Is this not healthy? Is this, do I need to separate for the holiday or do I need to separate indefinitely? How am I going to navigate this unhealthy relationship? Right? Yeah. Ellie Wen says lost, invisible, hopeless. Yes. That's literally the definition of mental defeat. I almost forgot what the word is. Mental defeat. That's literally pieces of the definition of mental defeat. Or learned helplessness. Are you guys aware of what happened with learned helplessness and the study around it? I know I've only mentioned it a few times on the channel. It's Martin Seligman. Martin Seligman is a social psychologist, and he's always studied, basically the things that we experience as humans when we are placed in a position that either requires too much of us or the burden just is so big to us that we can't escape it. And so what he did in his lab is he put a rat in a cage and he opened the door, and every time the rat would go towards the door to escape, then there would be an administration of shocks. So he would administer shocks. The rat, to a certain extent, the rat had this almost disposition of, I think I can escape. I'm going to try it again. And every time the rat would try to escape the cage, he would experience a low voltage shock. The rat eventually got to a place where his final attempt to escape led to him being shocked and him going over into the corner of his cage. I'll post the study so you can read more about it, or you can see a video on it. And the rat literally just sat there. He completely gave up. Why? Because in the mind of a rat, this is what we presuppose, that in the mind of a rat, if I can't escape because I keep getting shocked and I keep experiencing the same painful thing over and over and over, why am I going to continue to try to escape when I know that all of my attempts have been nothing but failure? And so then you kind of develop this low motivation to try. And you say, you know what, forget it. I'm not going to be hurt. I'm not going to be shocked again. And I'm not going to have to go through that mental psychology of why can't I escape? So I'm just going to give up. And so Martin Seligman titled that experience learned helplessness. Mental defeat and learned helplessness can really keep you stuck. Amy says, hello, Amy, welcome to tonight's live chat. Says, shout out to my fellow scapegoats. Let me just say to you that in a toxic family dynamic where you are feeling stuck and lost and you feel like you don't know who you are in the midst of your family members, and you walk away from them, you're going to be labeled a scapegoat. You're probably going to be labeled the rebellious one, the black sheep. You know what I mean? So I hate to say it, but that's typically the dynamic. Justice, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. It's been a little while. Justice says, I'd rather break bread with strangers than any family member who finds enjoyment in hurting and attack. Agree. Because of their insecurities and manipulation or need for control. I very much agree with that, Justice. Well said. Well said. Okay. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, Courtney Fraser. Thank you for that. I hope you have some downtime. Sister Flo says, I require your service or a referral, please. Thank goodness you shared those awesome nuggets with us. Absolutely. Feel free to email me. My email is in the description box. I'm really backed up in terms of email, but if you email me, I can definitely give you a referral. Absolutely. Orlando says, this is my 4th year not being around toxic family and friends. Thank God. Wow. I'm sure you feel better, right? Yeah. Daryl Harris, hello and welcome. I was glad to see you in a live chat. Welcome. Keisha, I'm going to read this because I think a lot of people go through this. Keisha says, I should know better not to look for any empathy out of my mother because that's like going to a cold brick to get warm sometimes. And that's the honest truth. That's a fantastic way to put it. Yes. Yeah. It's kind of like the learned helplessness, right? You're trying to get something, and every time you try to get something, you get shocked. And at a certain point in time, you have to be able to pause and say, you know what? This is not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. It's not working. I need to figure out a better way to deal with this. 123 ABC. Hello. Welcome. Cherry's Jubilee says, my life is a lonely HELL. I'm avoiding saying it. I'm smiling through the pain and eating a 20-pound turkey alone. Oh, I'm sorry, Cherry's Jubilee. That's not good. The only thing that you can do, and especially for those of you who feel like Cherry's Jubilee, is kind of take maybe the next day, maybe tonight, the next day, and design your own Thanksgiving day. I plan to do bunny slippers. I plan to watch the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade with my family. I figured I'm going to drink some coffee and some tea and just take it easy. Put my phone on do not disturb and have a day where I can reflect, be grateful, thankful, and have purpose and meaning in my own life. Design your day. If you have to sit down with a piece of paper and say, okay, I'm going to do this at 9 a.m. I'm going to do this at noon. I'm going to do this at 5. I'm going to go ahead to the volunteer shelter down the street and help out for an hour, right? Design your own day. I think that's the most healing. I hope that's helpful, Cherry's Jubilee. SH says, was thinking about the lack of connection, Lore Fit. I agree. Yeah, some in my family don't care or enjoy seeing others hurt, sad, upset, whatever. It's like saying, I won't love you. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Follow me, follow you. Hello, welcome to tonight's live chat. Follow me, follow you says, so happy my kids are out of school for a week. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, you can have that time with your kids for sure. That's wonderful. Courtney Fraser says, I'm having Thanksgiving dinner at my Omas rehab center. My dad is also going to be here. That's wonderful. So glad to hear that for you, Cherry's Jubilee. That's wonderful. Orlando says, energy vampires. Absolutely. Absolutely. Kay Razy, hello. Welcome to your first live with me. I'm glad to see you. Ray K. Razy, I hope I'm saying that correctly, says no Thanksgiving in Australia, but emotionally preparing for Christmas already. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. A seat at the King's table with Tanisha says, I'm not spending this Thanksgiving holiday with my family, but I am going on a weekend trip to treat myself. I'm also not opposed to spending future holidays with my fam, but need a break this year. Absolutely. Absolutely. What about those people, right? And thank you for mentioning that, because what about those people who are like, I love my family, but I'm just not doing this holiday with you, So I'm glad you brought that up. Create your own holiday if you need to. We all need breaks, right? Wendy Red, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. I don't remember seeing you before, so welcome. Wendy Red says, hello, Amy. I love all of your content. I am glad that I'm not spending. Thank you so much for that, by the way. I think you meant Tammy or Tamara. She goes on to say, I love all of your content. I am glad that I am not spending time with my toxic family for this holiday. And I have been more happier than ever. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's wonderful. You're recreating the holidays, and that's what's needed, right? AV, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Says, hate the holidays. Every time I try to deny the fact, everyone in my family ignores me and engage with them. They prove me right by ignoring me in conversations. Yeah. Yeah. Their behavior is the proof that you need, right? Marion Smith, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in a live chat. I don't ever remember seeing you, so welcome. Marion Smith says, my toxic family are my 3 children. Wow. I have lost all my children. My youngest daughter is a genius sociopath. She has lied, convinced her elder siblings who live far away of egregious lies. Oh my. That's rough. Oh, that's rough. I'm sorry. Daryl Harris says, glad to be here with you all this evening. Yes, glad to have you. Glad to have you. Thanks for saying that. Okay, guys, one more comment. Noon, just want to say hello to you. Half the battle. Glad to see you, Noon, by the way. Half the battle knowing is. Hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Says, I find comfort in knowing why people family act the way they do. See, disrespect is a byproduct of being respected or of a lack of respect on account of the one being disrespectful. It's hilarious. I mean, so I think it was in my growth mindset chat a couple weeks ago that I said that, just having knowledge can make you feel a little bit better about the people that you have to be around, right? It's like you become a somewhat of a psychotherapist, right? Because the more that you can take another person's brain and behaviors and dissect it through building self-awareness, building knowledge, building a growth mindset, then you can definitely feel like you're on top of the issue than sinking underneath it, right? Okay, let's go back to the content, guys. Let me give you the final part of this. And these are things that I suggest can be helpful and things that psychology also suggests that can be helpful, right? So what are the truths that you can kind of take with you into this holiday season? One is embracing the now and living in the present. This is basically mindfulness. I was going to call it something else, but I call it mindfulness. This is mindfulness. It's saying, I'm not going to think about my hurtful past. I'm not going to think about what's going to happen on Thursday because we're only on Tuesday. And I'm most definitely not going to allow my mind to go into the next year. I'm going to enjoy this moment and I'm going to take it moment by moment. I always tell some of my clients who have traumatizing childhoods, you need to ask yourself how you can take one baby step at a time throughout the day. So my suggestion is, and this is backed by psychology as well, embrace the here and the now. That's what we call it, the here and the now, the present moment. I'm not going to think about Thanksgiving. I'm not going to think about what's going to happen on Wednesday. I'm not going to think about what's going to happen on Christmas. I'm just going to embrace the now. And what that does is it kind of restructures your view and makes it a little more narrow. And it prevents you from just kind of having a whole big, blowout within your mind. It's allowing you to say, you know what? I have this much in my control. And that's all I can do for right now, So embracing the present, embracing the now, staying in the here and the now. Controlling neurotic guilt is something that psychology often suggests. If you have a dysfunctional, toxic family, it's very easy to experience neurotic guilt. What is that? That's the guilt of, did I make the right decision going no contact? What if my family hates me? What if I was to blame for that incident that happened last year? What about that time when I told my family that I hated them? Oh, geez, I'm starting to remember what I did to them last Thanksgiving. That was horrible. You want to shift that focus. So psychology says that if you have a neurotic guilt that is happening, then that is all it takes to sink your mood, to sink your mind, and to make you feel stuck and lost. So you want to work with that neurotic guilt. Now you may be thinking, well, how do you do that? Well, don't allow your mind to go down that roller coaster of, well, what about that time? Or what about when I said this? Or how do I make amends there? Oh my God, I can't believe I did that. You want to stop that process because sometimes, again, holiday time is a time to self-reflect, right? And so neurotic guilt is very common during this time of year. If you can, again, embrace the here and the now, only focus on what's happening right now in this moment, which is the live chat, right? then you're better able to control neurotic guilt. Neurotic guilt is kind of welcomed in when you start kind of thinking about last year and the year before that and the last 20 years and the last 15 years, what's going to happen on Christmas Day, right? And so if you just stay in the here and the now and focus on what's happening in that moment, that can be very helpful to help you control neurotic guilt. Another thing I gave to one of my clients last week was learning how to only focus on what you have control over, right? And you can even do this in an activity. You can sit down and you can do, here, let me show you really briefly. For those of you who like my drawings, I'm seriously joking. Okay, I'm going to show you what this looks like. And you can actually do this by yourself. Okay. And a lot of therapists use this. So this is not my genius idea. This is a lot of therapists who do this. This is called the control wheel. Okay. And the control wheel allows you to focus on what is out of my control, right? And you can actually take all this area on the outside of this donut, okay, and you can start listing all those things that you don't have the control of, right? I don't have the control of other people's thoughts and feelings about me. I don't have control over the fact that the world is just gun-ho about the holidays. I don't have control over those commercials that keep coming on that's talking about Christmas and Thanksgiving. I don't have control of other people who want to enjoy the holiday and who have the right to, right? But that middle circle, you want to add all the things that you do have control over. I have control over my mind. I have control over my feelings. I have control over who I want in my life and don't want in my life. I have control over how I'm going to spend Thanksgiving Day. I have control over what I'm going to eat. I have a control over what I think about, how long I think about it, So that might be a very helpful thing that you can do. I usually assign that activity to many of my clients who feel like they don't have personal insight, right? And that's a nice way to kind of help your mind process, this is what I don't have control over, and that's okay. But here's what I can control, right? And that can help you control neurotic guilt. The other thing is work through anhedonia. Anhedonia is the mindset that nothing in life is as pleasurable as it was a long time ago. And it could be because of depression. Maybe you have depression around this time of year or seasonal affective disorder, and you may be feeling like, I'm just not in love with the holidays. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't feel motivated by it. I don't feel excited about it. And that may be anhedonia. So you want to work through that, A way to work through anhedonia, or that loss of pleasure in experiences that you once had that were pleasurable. The only way to work through that is to redefine what is pleasurable for you, right? Maybe sitting at home watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade is pleasurable for you, right? With your fluffy pillows and your dog on the floor in the fireplace. Boom, there's your Thanksgiving. And there is nothing wrong with that, right? So working through anhedonia may be very helpful to you. Cultivate self-compassion. Cultivate self-compassion. Self-compassion says, I acknowledge that my life may not be the way I wanted. I acknowledge that I have family members I'm not going to really see this holiday season. I acknowledge the fact that I love my family, but they are highly annoying. And that's okay. Self-compassion says, yes, this is happening to me, and I'm going to give myself some space to feel those emotions and think those thoughts. Self-compassion. Identify patterns of defeat. What makes you feel defeated around this time? Is it being around all 30 of your family members? If so, break it in half. I'm only going to see 5 people today. Does everybody in my family want me to come to their dinner on Thanksgiving? Defeat patterns of thinking that's negative by calculating how many homes you're going to go to. My grandma used to do it. My late grandma, she used to do it. She would go to my brother's house, go to her friend's house, then go to another friend's house, then go to another friend's house, then go to her neighbor's house, and then she would come to ours. That's 6 different places my grandmother would go to. Not to mention, she had at least 15 grandkids, including me and my siblings. And so she would get calls from all of us. And at a certain point, my grandma was like, I can't, my late grandma, she's like, I can't do this anymore, So if you can help yourself get out of that mindset of being defeated or feeling defeated, you can really stand on top of this thing and feel like you're more in control. Lastly, before I go to the chat box and we wrap up, is reframe how you automatically think about your life in the holidays. It is really easy to sink into that denial. Oh, it's Thanksgiving. We haven't seen each other over the last 2 years. I think I'll go over for dinner, right? That might be the worst mistake. Or maybe you feel like you need to go, and that's wonderful if you feel like you can go. But you want to work with reframing your thoughts. Here's the way that I negatively see this, but what's another way that I can see this? What's another way that I can think about this? These are all interesting ways to kind of process the holidays, right, guys? And trying to rise above feeling stuck, and feeling forced to do things you don't want to do. It's a reframing of your mind. It's a reframing of what society has told us is the right way to do things. So, okay, guys, I'm going to go to the chat box and then we can definitely wrap up. I have a video on schizoid personality coming up pretty soon here, and another video on the psychology of betrayal. We just talked about betrayal trauma, but the video kind of breaks down a little bit more. And then, guys, I think that I will see you next Friday and Saturday. I will not see you this Friday and Saturday. So I'm going to miss you guys, but I do need a well-deserved break, if you will, if you can even say that humbly. I just feel like I need a break. And, my neurologist and my PCP is like, stop. You need a break. Okay. Justice says, I could not stand the smiles and hugs, and afterwards they are gossiping and being so nasty about each other, about how much they dislike each person. Can't stand phonies. Yeah, me neither. No, it's like, why hug me and tell me you're glad to see me, and then go sit over there with on BB and talk about me? No, I don't like that either. Amy calls it the circle of doom. Yes, that's a good one. Like that. Doberman Mama, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Says, I shouldn't have gone no contact. I blindly listened to my therapist. Now I have no family or financial help. I should have used the family for money and put up with drama, even though it isn't right. Well, I don't know what your therapist's reasoning was. And I don't know if it's right or fair to blame your therapist completely. But let me just give you guys this. And I often suggest this for all people, all clients, or all people in therapy. Your therapist is a guide, right? And you may have a therapist who's inexperienced. You may have a therapist who isn't experienced or trained in a way that would give them the insights that they need, right? They may be very well-meaning, but doesn't really have the experience, the age, the maturity, or the exposure needed to guide clients. So sometimes their guidance really should be second guessed, and you have to weigh the pros and the cons of your personal decision and what that's going to look like, right? I can sit here on YouTube and give you suggestions on how to deal with the holiday, but you are the only one who understands how that goes, right? And so you have to take what I'm suggesting and say, you know what? Let me just see how this fits, before I step into this completely. You know what I mean? So Doberman Mama, I'm so sorry that happened to you. But for those who are maybe in therapy, keep that in mind, or interested in therapy, keep in mind that a therapist is a guide. You're not to make decisions based on just your conversation with your therapist, because they're not 100% in your shoes, right? They can only give you information to guide you. That's rough, right? Yeah. Raymond Vincent Garcia says, hello, everyone. Hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Raymond Vincent Garcia says, can a person causing double bind communication have delusional thinking? Yes and no. It could be either way. Usually people who have borderline personality disorder histrionic personality disorder, or narcissistic personality disorder. Those three diagnoses often causes double-bind communication. Whether you go left or right, you're wrong. Whether you go up and down, you're wrong, right? You can spin in a circle and you're still wrong, because that person is using the communication to keep you manipulated, you know? So you may even compliment them and say, you've always been so smart, and the other person may say, how do you know that's true? And you may say, because you got straight A's in college. And they say, so what does that mean? And it's that constant arguing in a circular fashion, right? That causes that double bind communication, which can seem delusional. But no, I wouldn't say both of those things can happen at the same time. If they're delusional, then they're not well. And you're listening to delusional reasoning. A person who's highly emotional can engage in double bind communication, and it can be so very frustrating, because everything you say is the wrong thing to say. First they're crying because they want a hug from you, and then when you initiate the hug, they're still mad at you. Why? Because I didn't want a hug right now. I wanted it earlier, not now. And so very highly emotional people go through that. It's so very frustrating. It is. Mom Tude, hello and welcome. Oceans of blessings to you too. I was glad to see you. 123 ABC says, I see my family every Sunday, and then to turn around and see them on the holidays is an overkill. I'm sick of it. Oh, yeah, I get you. Yeah. I love you from a distance, a safe distance, Starburst, hello and welcome. I'm having a hard time tonight, guys. Starburst, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. Always glad to see you. Hello, SH. Always glad to see you as well. Okay, I'm just scrolling through comments before we wrap up. Hold on, guys, because there's so many comments. Bear with me. Noon says something that I totally agree with. Oh, jeez. I hit the wrong button again. Always. Noon says, where'd it go? Here we go. Noon says, I just don't want to be around them. It's enough. And my peace isn't for sale. Love it. Lorfit says, so tiring. Love it. Agree. Jeremy Robinson, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. If I didn't welcome you, Jeremy says, my stepfather is the same way. In fact, I remember one Christmas, he spent the whole time in a bad mood because no one bought him a gift and because no one made him a plate. Yeah. I've seen that too. And it's like, can you grow up? Doesn't mean we don't love you. You know what I mean? One time, one of my clients came to session, and she came to session. This was about 6 years ago. I was in a residential treatment facility treating young people who could not be in society. They were like institutionalized for lack of a clinical term. So they were in this residential treatment facility. Mom had brought a gift for her kid. Mom had brought a gift for her kid, and he was her son and didn't have anything in return. Why? Because he's on a locked campus where he can't get off, and he was punished for doing something wrong to another resident. So he couldn't get off the campus to go buy his mom anything. But you would think mom would understand. My son is in a residential treatment facility. I can bring him a lot of things, but he can't get me what I want. She didn't understand it. She became offended. She said, I don't feel like you love me. And I was in the next room as she's talking to her son. And I'm like making copies, and I hear her out in the, I forgot what we used to call it. It's a place where kids get to visit their families, for a short duration of time. I can't think of what it's called. It's not a conference room, but it's like that. And I could hear her in the next room just saying, you could have drew me a picture. You could have made me something, you could have thought about me. And she was so upset the entire 2 hours that she was there to see her son because he didn't give her something that she felt she deserved. It came out months down the line that she was diagnosed with a narcissistic personality disorder. Maggie Chang, hello and welcome. Glad to see you. I don't remember seeing you, so welcome. Glad to have you. Dina Da Vinci, hello, welcome back. Anonymous, hello and welcome. Anonymous, I don't remember seeing you, so welcome to the channel. Anonymous says, my family gatherings were competitions. I opted out of the contest. Yeah, good for you. Good for you. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Marie B says, hello and welcome, by the way. So glad to see you tonight. Says, so true, Tamara. It's so exhausting. This holiday, I'm going to the movies and getting a to-go order. There you go. My kind of girl. I don't blame you. Holidays should be peace of mind. They should be pleasurable. They should be enjoyable. They should trigger your feelings of thanksgiving and gratitude, right? They should be able to cause you to kind of do some introspection and process where you are in life, not cause you pain, you know? That's not what this is about. Imagine peace. Hello and welcome. Yep. Agreeing with minimization. Sadie Smith, hello and welcome. Glad to see you tonight. Okay, just making sure. Yeah, making sure I'm not missing you guys before we sign off. GB Joe says, picking up the undertones of a room can be disturbing. Yes, it can. Imagine going over a family member's house for the holiday and walking through the front door and standing there while everybody is talking. You smell food, you hear Christmas music, but you also see that cousin over there that you used to didn't get along with. You see that uncle over there who turned against you because of some crazy reason, right? You see that cousin over there who is jealous of you, and you guys have always had a really odd communication, you know, and you see the neighbor who's been in your life for I don't know how long because he's a friend to your family. You know, all of that sensory stimulation could come in and just destroy you. You know, it's horrible. Havana, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. We're going to sign off here, but I'm always glad to see you as well. Imagine peace as my extended family abandoned me several years ago after I became household bound with chronic illness. My God, that's awful. I'm sorry, imagine peace. Nobody expects that, right? The Good Glow, hello and welcome to tonight's live chat. Glad to see you as well. Says, I feel like I escaped from a cult, but my cult leader, egg donor, is so poisonous that other family members enable her by saying things like, it's hard being a mother and you know she wanted perfection. Yeah. That minimization of reality can be very painful, right? Raymond Vincent Garcia says, I just had a moment of clarity right now. Thank you, Tamara. You're welcome. You're welcome. Carol Sky, hello. You did make it. I haven't seen you in a while. Glad to see you. Havana says, I'm sure most people can't stand their evil parent sides of their family. Yeah. The family members are evil too. Yeah, sometimes they are. Thank you for they are. I hate that. I totally know where you're coming from. Raymond Vincent Garcia, thank you for the super sticker, the super chat. Always glad to see that. I appreciate you. Okay, let's keep going, guys. I'm looking for comments that I haven't already answered or questions. Andrew Mercer, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Kay Razy says asks, is there any research on coping with parental alienation during the holiday time? There is. I might post that in the description box because if I get into dissecting that, then I think we're going to be on here till 12 midnight. Excuse me, guys. So, for that reason, I'm not going to get into that, but is there research that can help you dissect what's healthy and not healthy? Absolutely. Yeah. I'll try to post that in the description box for you. Okay, guys. Every time I say, okay, guys, I see somebody else and I don't want to miss any of you. Andrew Radcliffe, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Hello and welcome. I don't ever remember seeing you. So welcome to the channel. Glad to see you. Mystery Lip says, hello and welcome. Glad to see you. Says, I'm at a point now where I just go to get my plate of food, chat for a bit, hug the elderly and the family, and then back home. Our peace is very important. Happy holidays, Tam. Yes, happy holidays to you as well. I used to do that. I used to do that. That's a wise thing to do. Love you. Let me hug you. Say good night. I will eat some wonderful dinner. Thank you for that. I'm gone. We're not going to talk about politics. We're not going to talk about religion. We're not going to talk about success or lack thereof. Just hello, love you, bye. You know, sometimes it's got to be that way. Star, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Star says, so many mixed feelings about family holidays. Every year has been about learning to keep the good and dump the rest. Friendsgiving has always been a blessing. Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah. Totally get that. Georgette Gray, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. You guys are saying some really good stuff tonight. Carl Mullen, hello and welcome. Glad to see you. Carl Mullen says, I recently met up with family members and started to nudge me about my health issues being mental and not physical, even though I have tests to prove so. You can never change a narcissist. Sometimes you may deal with that. Yeah. Yeah, family members doubting you, showing that they don't really understand you, invalidating your experience. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Orlando, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. Thank you. Okay. Mama Black Sheep, hello and welcome. I don't remember seeing you, so welcome to the channel as well. Mama Black Sheep says, I feel that my mother weaponizes gratitude. It's that if that's even possible, sending daily cliche quotes about being thankful. Yes, it is possible. While at the same time evicting me, husband, children from their house that we pay consistent rent for, my Lord. So let me just say gratitude can be weaponized. I would maybe change the terminology and say inspirational quotes are being weaponized. I absolutely hate that. I knew a family, was a longtime family friend to my family, and every single Tuesday, okay, they would send an email to a select few of family members about forgiveness and learning to be open and honest and learning to be as the Bible would have you to be. And it started to feel over time like she was sending everyone information to correct them and to make them think like she thought about things. And so inspirational quotes can definitely be weaponized. I'm not surprised that's happening to you. I'm sorry it's happening to you. It's not okay. Cora Charisse, hello and welcome. Don't remember seeing you, so welcome. Cora Charisse says, I've separated from my family indefinitely. Yeah, that's rough. And it's rough not only on you, but on them, right? Silent Walk, you're my last one before we sign off, or I'm going to be on here till 9 o'clock. You guys are really on fire tonight. Silent Walk, hello and welcome. Glad to see you tonight. For those that I didn't get a chance to get to, know that I appreciate you. Thank you for the super chats. If you guys have given me super chats that I didn't get to, and thank you for being engaging. I hope this was helpful to kind of redirect your heart and mind for Thanksgiving coming up. I have 2 videos this week, so stay tuned for those. But I truly look forward to seeing you guys next Friday and Saturday live. We're going to continue talking about holiday stuff and, the psychology of these different dynamics, guys. So love you so much. Have a happy Thanksgiving the way that you need it to be. And I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.